Fuck! Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Normal America Show, the last show that I'm having at my home before I am gone for a week here. I'll still try to stream on YouTube exclusively via my phone. And what a day it is. Now, I grew up, my birthday was July 4th. And I'm ashamed to tell you, I grew up in a White House that propagandized to me about how important the day of July 4th is. That's garbage. That's not what this country's about. Of course, the greatest day in the history of the world, I would say, the most important holiday in the world, one that has been celebrated since time immemorial in this great country. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Juneteenth. I hope you're all having a fantastic Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. And today we're here to celebrate, baby, Juneteenth. That special day that we've all been looking forward to all year. It's it's a day that I've thought about the importance of this day and exactly what it stands for decades. And so I'm happy to be celebrating. Unfortunately, my final day here at home for a while, but happy to be here celebrating. I think I got some good stuff for you. If you could believe it, one of the most common things that people ask me when I talk to them, I've been my friends in real life for the past 5 months. I get excited about 5 months out for Juneteenth. So pretty much every day that my friends would see me, I'm like, are you getting ready for Juneteenth? Big celebration? And they'd be like, what are you talking about? It's very offensive. It's upsetting. And for me, the question I get the most is, what exactly is Juneteenth? And I think it just goes to show you just how bad the systemic racism is in this country. I've had people say things like this to me. I don't remember celebrating this like more than a couple of years ago. It seemed to come out of nowhere. I don't even know what to say to that. So, because we live in this systemically racist country that is hidden the true story of Juneteenth, I've actually, at great pains and expenses, dug up that story for you today. And I'm going to be reading the history and origin that they want to keep out of public schools. They don't want you to hear this. They don't want your kids to hear it. And I thought it was very important today that we read that. But so we'll get to that later. And traditionally, what I like to do is read this for my family. Sort of like, at Christmas, there are people that read like the night before Christmas around a fireplace. That's what I like to do with my family. Read the actual history of Juneteenth. So I hope to do that, and I just think it's tremendous. I thought to celebrate, we would also read a chapter, of course, from our great book, I'm Speaking Now. We would do another chapter of that. I thought it was appropriate here on Juneteenth. So we'll get to that. But first off, how is your day? I hope it's tremendous. I hope you're having the day that you deserve and the day that our country deserves, quite frankly. One second. Some Juneteenth problems here. There we go. There we go. All right. Taking care of that. Almost done. Juneteenth does make life worth living. Now, what I'm going to need for you all is this. I know it sounds crazy, but you have no idea how hard it was to dig up these historical artifacts and actually bring you the real story of Juneteenth. It's very difficult. And so what I'm hoping from you all is to hopefully send in some financial support so that more historical artifacts like this could be dug up at the Normal America with Rob Noerr show. Don't worry, we will do the heavy lifting, respecting truly superior cultures. All we need from you is your likes, your subscriptions, and your financial donations. Not nudes. We will not need those. We will not. I went to a restaurant, Eaton Park, sort of a Pittsburgh type restaurant around here. I went there for breakfast. It was a lot of fun. So, if you like the content that you're seeing here today, please. Now, before we get to the Juneteenth stuff, I thought maybe, just maybe, we would cover some other things. Is that okay? Can we temper our excitement for the Juneteenth celebration just for a while? Is that something that y'all could possibly do? I hope so. What am I reading here? Oh my goodness. Ugh. Stumbled upon a grotesque video on X there. So first off, let me tell you a little about my vacation. Not Juneteenth related, but yeah, we're just gonna be going for around a week. I got some other stuff going on while I'm gone, but I should be back to streaming regularly next Sunday. So not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday. So we leave tomorrow at 6 a.m., which is why I wanted to do the show early today, so I could get some sleep. Figure if I'm in bed by 11 o'clock and wake up around 5:45, that should be just fine. 6.5 hours of sleep should be fine. And then I got like a 7 or an 8 hour drive ahead of me. So I'm looking forward to it though. And like I said, I'll probably do some streaming in the evenings on my phone. But I will say that I'm going to probably be watching less of the news than I normally do, because I'm really trying to, So the news that's breaking is Tulsi Gabbard on her way out the door released some files on Fauci. I think that's something that's worth looking at. And we also have the beginnings of some arrests, it looks like, in Minneapolis for some of the riots that we saw there. So let's start talking about that. And I'm not going to go through the document, but what I will link it for you so that you could read it. So I've read through this, and I'll put it up. We'll start to read it just so you get an idea, but it's a little lengthy. So I put the link there for you. 15 members of Direct Action Minnesota, Minneapolis-based Direct Action group with Antifa ties, indicted. Charges include conspiracy to impede or injure a federal officer, interstate stalking, interstate threats, solicitation to commit a crime of violence, and assault on federal officers. Justice Department today announced that 15 members of the association Direct Action Minnesota, or DAM, have been charged with various federal crimes, including conspiracy to impede a federal officer, multiple counts of interstate stalking, interstate threats, solicitation to commit a crime of violence, multiple counts of assaults on a federal officer, and destruction of government property. Over the past 24 hours, federal agents and Homeland Security investigations conducted a coordinated law enforcement operation culminating in the arrest of 12 members. 2 members are at large and 1 previously in federal custody on several charges. As alleged, these defendants, which included members of Antifa groups, engaged in an unrelenting campaign of harassment and violence targeting federal and local law enforcement, said Todd Blanche. Their actions created a dangerous environment that threatened not only their intended targets, but the community as a whole. These arrests demonstrate the department's commitment to law and order and stopping organized political violence in Minneapolis and beyond. The arrest of these rioters is a win for law and order. If you lay your hand on law enforcement, you'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, said Mark Wayne Mullen. We have zero tolerance for violence against our law enforcement. If you assault or obstruct law enforcement, you'll face the consequences. For those who choose to threaten federal officers, the Department of Justice holds you accountable, said Daniel Rosen. The direct actions alleged in the indictment are un-American. They'll be met with swift justice. Today's announcements are the result of a thorough investigation into a deeply troubling trend, coordinated violence targeting federal law enforcement officers in an effort to cause chaos and impede law enforcement operations, said Michael McCarthy. We have uncovered evidence of organized groups deliberately planning and executing criminal acts, including assaults, threats, destruction of government property, and attempts to impede federal officers. We fully respect and defend the First Amendment right to peaceful protest. However, when protests cross the line into violence or criminal activity becomes unlawful, message is clear. You disagree with the law, but you can't blah, blah, blah. Charges unsealed today are directly in line with the Joint Task Force of Vanguard's mission, collaborative whole government effort to counter groups that use violence. I didn't have any of that up. Whoopsie daisy. But that's what it says. So here's what I think about this. I'm unimpressed. Ultimately, this is nothing. You got 15 Antifa dudes, scumbags. That's it. Now, this could be the start, which is fine. Maybe you go after these people, turn the screws. I want to know who's financing it. I want thousands arrested, not a dozen. I want lists of people's names that were involved in this group and them to be put on a terror watch list as being members of a terrorist organization that's committing insurrection. That's what I want. I want these people's lives ruined like everyone that attended January 6th. Turnabout is fair play. These are people that are intentionally interfering with the processing of our laws and what has been deemed, based on the arguments that the Democrats made, insurrections. I want every single one of these people's communications subpoenaed and investigated. And if they have any connections to powerful people, whether it be politicians, media members, whatnot, all of those communications to be investigated. I want to know who's funding these organizations and see them charged. Until that occurs, stories like this are unimpressive to me. Is it a step in the right direction? Yeah, but it's like we need them to walk 10 miles and they're just now putting their socks on. Like, when I first saw this was breaking and it took me like 12 hours to get to reading it, I was like, oh, maybe they actually got some like financiers of this. It's basically your run-of-the-mill, street-level Antifa scumbags. Who do I think's financing it, Rob? Left-wing donor groups that donate to the Democratic Party. That's my opinion. So, look, yes, these people should be charged. If that's all we get out of it, out of the hundreds of people for the past 3-4 months that have been engaging this behavior, that we get 15 low-level scumbags arrested, that's it? That's what we're going to get? Because of victory fact. Could be. It's not just people with too much free time. It's organized. It's funded. They have equipment. Some super chats. Buddha Customs, $5 says, first to donate, bet the chat can't match it. Challenge. Miss Peachy Keen matches and exceeds. Thank you, Peachy. $50 says, send Rob money people. I almost said send money rob people. That sounds like a DMX album. And then Gavin Freenan, $5 says, excuse me, a black man is speaking. Please do continue, Rob. Listen, Gavin, don't get upset about the rest of the show. That we're going to celebrate Juneteenth and everything that culturally comes with it. So I hope that you'll appreciate it. So we have that going on. Look, here's the thing. It's very much like what we see in Europe. When you have this two-tiered system, and then eventually things are going to boil over. We can't have the left know that they're allowed to violently riot every time they don't get their way, and there's almost no consequences. That cannot happen. And so the hammer must be brought down in an equivalent way as it was with January 6th. And that's being just. That's being reciprocal. Because January 6th was one day where no private property was harmed. The left-wing riots, we saw them in Trump's first term. Now we see them again. It's a daily basis almost. There are days where I'll look and be like, oh, look, another riot in Newark. I don't even talk about it. It just, we just know it happens. Nothing's going to be done. They'll get away with it. Few people get a slap on the wrist. State police will arrest some people and leave them out the next day. Don't spread this bullshit here today. Not today, not in Juneteenth. We know who the real villains of history are, and we're going to call it out today. Ballyhoo, $5 says, by the time sentencing comes, Newsom wins the presidency, pardons them all. Either Trump's too weak, wants them to continue. It is very much one of the worst things of the Trump administration. I understand it. He is in a difficult spot. Look, I give Trump some credit for this. He is in a difficult spot because half of his own party hates him and wants to sabotage him. Look what's going on right now in the Senate. They won't pass the SAVE Act. They won't allow him to make appointments. They're holding the blue sip. They're doing pro forma sessions so he can't have recess appointments. They fucking hate him. They hate his agenda. They hate his voters. Anytime Trump tries to enforce immigration law, the left's going to riot, and the entire sort of narrative machine goes into full effect. Trump's a fascist. Oh, my goodness. Which leads to more attempts on his life and people in his administration. And where are the Republicans? All but silent. So I understand. I would love for Trump to have a harsher hand on this, but he's going to have no support. What's the core reason that they hate him? Because they don't care about governance for the people. They find us to be a nuisance. They care about their in-group preference. They care about globalization. They want an end to nation states. They want everyone rely on a one system, one government. And the biggest impediment to that is working class people in the developed world. So they hate them and they want them displaced. They want to get obscenely wealthy by bringing in cheap labor and have total control over us. That's why they hate Trump. He's seen as outside that. That's why they hate his voters. They're seen as a pesky nuisance. Hitakachi, $5 over on Rumble, says, like the getaway. Thank you. Birdie the dog, $10 says, towing cars on a rainy Juneteenth in Texas, listening to Normal America with robnoerr. Life is good. Wow. Enjoy the holiday. I can't wait to talk more about it. Level 4 Lobster, $10 says, for your first hot pickle, safe travels, brother. Thank you, Lobster. Love me a hot pickle. Is that a traditional Juneteenth food? I don't know. That's one of the problems with being white. I just don't know. I have my own celebration of Juneteenth. I did not watch Andrew's debate with Austin last night. How'd it go? What do people think? Austin's the dude I debated on reparations, right? So I don't know like what a traditional Juneteenth feast is. We just cook out and like I said, I have painstakingly found the historical archives It's very difficult. I hope we get to the goal today. You have no idea the pains that I've been going through. Andrew Rectum, yeah. Andrew got annihilated or the other guy? First off, let me say something. Now, we are going to have some fun at the expense of some of the celebrators of Juneteenth. I mean, we're going to uplift them. The whole, like, race thing with fried chicken, like with black people. Like, I'm sorry, I think it was Dave Chappelle said this. Dude, if you don't like fried chicken, there's something wrong with you. I don't give a fuck what your race is. Like, yeah, fried chicken's awesome. I'm, as a fat guy, I know it's even worse to say it as a black guy. I get that, right? Because of the racial stereotype. But as a fat guy, anytime I say any food's good, people are like, oh, yeah. Fried chicken's awesome. I'm not going to pretend it's not. It's fucking great. There. If that's the best we have, yeah, watermelon, also amazing. I will say, though, here locally, I bought a couple, both my mother-in-law and us bought watermelons at the local Walmart, and they were not good, this first batch. I think they get better as the summer goes along. But they're, like, tasteless, the ones we got here recently. Oh, no, I think a really good watermelon is amongst the best fruits in existence, in my opinion. I love it. Like, on a hot day, just a bowl of cold watermelons, fucking unbelievable. I ain't no watermelon felon. I don't know what you're talking about. Koreans make great chicken too. That is true. Basketball. Look, I'm a terrible basketball player. I'm fucking horrible at it. I have one move. Right? I'm a short guy anyways. I'm like 5'8". But I'm not very good at, I'm not very fast. I don't shoot the ball well. I have one move. You ready? Here's my move in basketball. And it'll get you a little ways. You ready? Here it is. You get the rebound, and then you throw the elbows. That's it. That's all I got. Throwing the elbows. And then once I back the people off, then I don't know what to do. I'm like, okay, now what? But I throw the elbows. That I know. Yes, I know I'm not that fast. I might surprise you, though. For a fat guy, I don't have good acceleration, but top-end speed, I'm not so bad once I get moving. You know? You don't like watermelon? I don't know. I also like cantaloupe. But I hate honeydew. I fucking think honeydew's the worst. James, $5 says, the Alphabet Boys have to know who's funding these groups. Yep. Do you think they're withholding info from Trump and all, or something else? I think that's a big part of it. And I think it's one of the reasons I was against what was going on with Iran. Trump's focus is foreign policy and not here domestically. And so basically, let's have a couple, oh yeah, we made some arrests. It'll go in the newspaper. Trump's like, good. When in reality, they could be doing far more. Of course, the other news, as we talked about slightly yesterday, was information about Dr. Fauci's been released. There's a lot. So instead of, I didn't have the time to go through everything that Tulsi released on our last day. Maybe true, fattest dog. Maybe I don't know what it tastes like fresh. I still like it. So what we're going to do is, Senator Ron Johnson had a post about this, and I thought we would just read through it, and then I'd give my thoughts. So let's do that. Here's Ron Johnson. I'll put the link out if you guys want to check it out on X for yourself. A story the media and the government don't want you to hear. Read about the biggest government scandal that legacy newspapers won't touch. Which one? Like the grooming scandal? Anyways, April 29th, 2026, as chairman of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation, I held a hearing and released a report titled Unmasked, How Biden Health Officials Purposely Turned a Blind Eye Towards COVID-19 Vaccine Safety Signals. There's not been a bigger government scandal during my lifetime, and yet even now we have documented proof of corruption. Most legacy media refuse to report on it. My report details how in March 2021, Peter Marks, director for the FDA center that approves vaccines and is responsible for safety surveillance under CBER, was briefed that the algorithm they were using to analyze the vaccine adverse event reporting system, VAERS, would mask or hide COVID-19 vaccine adverse event safety signals. 26 days later, using an updated algorithm, senior FDA officials were shown 25 safety signals, including sudden cardiac arrest, pulmonary infarction, cerebral artery occlusion, basal ganglia stroke, agonal rhythm, and Bell's palsy. For the next 3 months, they received updates showing more serious safety signals. Instead of warning or informing the public, they ordered the data analysis to cease and desist, and then lied to the American public that they were seeing safety signals, or they weren't seeing safety signals, and that any adverse effects were rare and mild. The whole point of using sophisticated algorithms to analyze VAERS is to find needles in the haystack, non-obvious potential harms that doctors and patients should be alerted to. With the COVID-19 injections, we didn't need sophisticated algorithms. The sheer volume of adverse event reports overwhelming VAERS was enough to trigger my oversight efforts. We faced impenetrable stonewalling until Secretary Kennedy's commitment to radical transparency provided my subcommittee with 11 million pages of documents. The documents make it clear that the FDA and CDC officials did not use an err on the side of caution standard to alert the public. Rather, they insisted on definitive proof of causation, a standard they knew could never be met. They were far more concerned about not causing vaccine hesitancy than they were about informing the public of adverse effects. They wanted to ensure that the injections would receive full licensure approval so that President Biden could mandate them to the military and millions of civilians, including healthy college students. Perhaps the most egregious coercion involved healthy children who had virtually zero chance of serious harm from COVID-19. That coercion was based on another false claim that the injections would stop transmission. Some children were killed, and others have been permanently disabled from the COVID-19 injections. Imagine being a parent who believed all the lies they were told and decided to have their now deceased injured child injected. Now pause. Again, this is tangential to what we're hearing about Dr. Fauci, and I'll tie it in here at the end. But this goes to so much of what not only I was saying about COVID in real time as it was occurring, but to the greater effects of disinformation, etc. And one of the things we talk about on this show a lot is the attempts to censor disinformation and the three types of it. You have misinformation, which is information that's inaccurate, but you think's true. Then you have disinformation, which is information that you're lying about. And then you have that third type, which is malinformation. Malinformation is true information that goes against the agenda that the people in power want. So they suggest censoring it as well. And even before I had these three terms, one of the things I was saying during COVID was it doesn't matter whether or not what you're saying is truthful is irrelevant to their attempts to censor it. In fact, the more truthful you are, the more likely they are to want to censor. It is irrelevant. Here's a statement we don't like. We should remove it. Okay, but is that statement true? Doesn't matter. You might as well say, like, is that statement, more than 5 sentences? It's like, why does that matter? It's just an irrelevant true. Who cares? It's not the point. Now, why would we have trust in any of these institutions in the first place? I'm the only person in the country that I've heard say this. Still, to this day, and I've been saying it 5 years. All you have to do is look at what they're telling you of their own words to see how distrustworthy they are. So take a second here and take your own biases out of what you think about treatments and strategies against COVID. Because what I'm about to say, a huge portion of you are going to go, yeah, but that's bullshit. Don't focus on that. Early into the pandemic, if you remember, here's how things went. There were some people saying this could be serious early as January. And then come February, we know that Trump started the process of trying to stop people coming in from flights on China. The Democrats around that time were actually saying, like Nancy Pelosi, this is racist, go hug a Chinese person. Remember that? Fauci in February was going on national television or somehow was like talking to the press saying that the average flu season would be worse than this COVID. Why are we talking about this shit? Because I feel like it. I'm glad you don't like it. Goodbye. So Fauci was saying that the average flu season would be worse. That was February. Then all of a sudden there was a turnabout and a change of face, right? One of the first things that happened was this sort of idea that masks wouldn't help. Does anyone remember this? Now, I know what you're thinking, but masks suck. They don't work. And one of the things I said was, they were saying this right at the beginning of COVID, like in early March. Masks don't work. And I was like, how would they know that? Like, they're telling us this is a virus they know next to nothing about. And they're coming out and they're like, masks don't work. And I was like, yeah, that's maybe true, but how can you make this definitive claim? And then within 3 weeks, it was, never mind, masks work. And not only that, you should be forced to wear one. What happened? How did all the scientists, Dr. Fauci and Birx and all these people, how did they get it so wrong? Within a month, they went to, nah, don't worry about masks. Don't go buy them. No problem, too. Yeah, they do work, and you should have to wear it. Well, they told us. Does anyone remember what they said? They said, well, we had to lie to you. We had to. Because we were worried that you all were going to go out and buy all the masks, and then all the doctors and nurses wouldn't have any. Remember? That was the argument. We had to lie to you. In other words, they were like, we always knew masks worked. This is their words. Again, take out your belief that masks don't work. Their official story to us became, of course masks work. And we always knew masks worked. But we had to lie to you because we were afraid you were going to run out and buy the masks. And therefore, the healthcare professionals wouldn't get them. That was their argument. Now, the problem with that is, once you've announced to us, we're willing to lie to you for your own good on this issue, why would we believe anything they said? Now, take this injection. Are there side effects? No! And you're not even allowed to suggest it or you'll be banned from social media. That seems odd. This virus we know next to nothing about, now all of a sudden there are these experimental vaccines, but you guys are like super insistent. Trust us, no side effects. Really? Yeah, trust us. Now, you couldn't see. I'm not saying that it wasn't worth it for some people to get the vaccine. That's not my claim here. My claim is, why would I believe them at that point? Their opinion means nothing. Ask yourself this, given what their official stance on masks were, if you would have bought a mask, you would have been more protected. That's their official stance. But we had to lie to you for the greater good of society. So we didn't want you, the individual, to take steps to protect yourself more because we thought it would have been more harmful to society overall. Now, by the way, take this vaccine. But wait a minute. What if the vaccine increases my chances of being harmed? Hypothetically, if the vaccine, according to what I just told you about what their position was on masks, if the vaccine was likely to cause some level of harm to me, some sort of side effect, but they thought that it would have lowered infection rates, do you think they would have lied to me to take the vaccine? Of course. They've already admitted as much. So why would I trust them? Now, account when you're looking at who was at risk for COVID. As far as I know, I haven't checked this data for like the last 2 years. The average, like the mean age of death in this country from COVID was beyond the average life expectancy. It was like 77 years old. And average life expectancy is like 76 in this country. That means that like more than 50% of the people that were dying were over 70. So why are we forcing 23-year-olds to get this vaccine? Why are we forcing children? It doesn't make sense. There's a better than not chance that if there's a risk of side effects, someone with almost no risk of having a serious case of COVID, like a healthy 23-year-old, is only has a greater risk of harming themselves through taking the vaccine. Doesn't matter, though. We'll lie to that person, because if they knew the truth, they might say, well, fuck that. No, I don't want it. But we want you to take the vaccine, and insert your reason. A, because we think it would have societal benefits, or B, because we like money and control. I know which one I'm going with. So why would you believe them? And then when you went through their own studies, like I did many times, like the CDC studies in like 2022, when you go through it, you're like, holy shit. Their conclusions like, yeah, even if you already had the illness, even if you've already had COVID, you should still get a vaccine on top of it. But when you look at the data, you're like, but your data says that's not the case. That there's almost no benefit whatsoever. And that's without looking at possible side effects. Now, here's the part I haven't heard it. So there's the reason. Why would you trust them after they admitted, by the way, we're going to lie to you if we think it's necessary. So why would you trust Fauci and company at that point? But then, here's why I don't believe that their lie was nobly intended. Let me ask you this in the audience. And again, I haven't heard anyone else in the country saying this. Did cloth mask work? Not your opinion, but did Fauci and the official guidance say that cloth masks worked? What did they say? Sorry to hear that, Paulie. Fauci said, yes, cloth masks work. No, that's true. They said N95s were better, but they said cloth masks were effective, that they were better than nothing. That was their argument. Of course, they said N95 masks are preferable. They're the gold standard, but paper masks and cloth masks also were better than nothing, and they were effective. Most people with the mask mandates were not wearing N95 masks. It doesn't. Now listen, hold your judgment here. I know this is what you're going to say, but they don't work. Forget about that. We're only pretend you know nothing, and you're just listening to these guys. They're saying cloth masks work. Because if you don't and you say, but I know they don't work, you're not going to get what I'm saying. I've tried to explain this many times to people, and I think I lose 1/3 of the audience. There we go. Other countries say that they work. Okay, there we go. So cloth masks work. See? Thank you, 21606. There we go. Yep, everybody agrees. The other countries said it. Cloth masks work. Okay. So if Fauci and company knew that, instead of telling people, hey, masks don't work, don't go buy them. And they're like, we knew they worked, and we knew that we were putting lives at risk, but we had to because we didn't want people to go buy the mask. Instead of telling that lie, why didn't they say, you don't need to go buy an N95 mask. Got an old shirt laying around? Cut it up and make a mask. That works. Why didn't they tell that lie? Yep, that's just as good as the N95 mask. Instead of saying, this is their version. So don't think like, yeah, but the masks don't work. Forget that. They're telling you, we think the masks save lives, and we think cloth masks save lives. But we had to lie to you and tell you none of it worked so that doctors could go get masks. But why not, instead of the lie, masks don't work, why didn't they tell the lie, cloth masks work just as well? Go ahead, everybody put a cloth mask on. Why not? Why didn't they tell that lie? Their own argument is, we think that we were causing more people to die because we told them that masks don't work. Why did they do that? And once you realize, well, for the same reason that they tried to bullshit us that nursing homes had to accept COVID patients. None of it made sense. You look at it and you're like, your own version doesn't make sense. This isn't that they had a different, like, I think that it probably came from a lab and they think it came zoological. That's a difference of opinion of origins and stuff. That's slightly different. This is, if we take their own version, it doesn't add up. It does not make sense. So now when we hear Ron Johnson saying, look, they fucking covered up. They knew that these massive side effects were happening to the vaccine and they fucking covered it up. And then when we have Tulsi Gabbard releasing the files that's like, Dr. Fauci was intentionally covering this shit up. They knew that they funded it and they were lying to all of us. And he was working with intelligence to cover up the origins of it. Can you see that at every level of sort of our pharmaceutical, like, health administration was fucking lying to us? And by the way, it just so happened serendipitously to lead to a huge transfer of wealth from regular working class people to a bunch of wealthy people like those in the pharmaceutical industry. Boy, if you're at Pfizer or Moderna or whatever, you made out like a fat cat, didn't you? Let's keep going with Johnson's letter here. Also in March 2021, Dr. Ravindra Nath, clinical director at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Strokes, began leading a team of clinical researchers who were diagnosing and treating individuals with serious COVID-19 injection injuries. 23 study participants were diagnosed and treated, then instructed to not talk about the study until the NIH could release its findings and conclusions. Dr. Nath maintained that early recognition and intervention were crucial for effective treatment, yet no guidance was provided to physicians. One participant remarked that the NIH scientist had, quote, taken the data and left us hanging. Adding insult to injury, in April 2021, the CDC published a report stating that similar adverse events were anxiety, not a problem with the shots. It was not until study participants began speaking publicly in 2022 that the NIH quietly posted its study on a preprint server that virtually no one read, leaving medical teams nationwide in the dark and the injection injured left untreated. We will never know the full extent of the harms or benefits of the COVID-19 injections, but we do know that federal health officials were aware that serious harm was being done within months of them granting emergency use authorization. We also know that those same officials turned a blind eye towards the safety signals that were screaming at them, but they refused to warn the public. The public pays federal health officials to evaluate drugs for safety and efficacy, and they have the right to be informed. How many deaths and injuries could have been avoided had federal health officials simply done the job we paid them to do? Currently, VAERS shows 1.6 million cumulative worldwide adverse effects and 39,000 and change deaths associated with COVID-19 injection, with 24% of the deaths occurring within 2 days of injection. Most of these tragic adverse events occurred well after federal health officials should have informed the public about the risk they knew existed. Instead, they hid or downplayed those risks. As a result, millions were harmed after being denied their right to fully informed consent. That is why I consider this to be the biggest government scandal of my lifetime, and one that's crying out for full media attention and coverage. But it won't get that. And I'll tell you why it won't get that. The same reason that it's going to be very hard to ever have a full reckoning on trans treatment for children. Because what this would require is millions of people to say, I was wrong and caused irreparable damage. And they're not going to do it. They're not. I said this all the time during COVID. I don't know. I'm like a broken record. First off, if you're tuning into some fat guy like me for health advice, you've already fucked up. Big mistake. I'm not here to tell you, should you get the vaccine or not? Should you wear the mask or not? All I'm saying against, I'm against the government forcing it upon you. That's it. If you decide, my advice to you is this: go to a medical professional that you trust and have a good relationship with, give them your unique facts, and make a decision the best you can. That decision may well be, I'm going to take the vaccine. I'm not going to make fun of you. It may be, I don't want the vaccine. That's fine too. I'm not saying whether or not you should take it. I'm saying that it should not be forced on you. That was my argument. And I said, what if I'm wrong? What if they were like, we could find out years later, but Rob, by forcing it into people, the vaccine is actually good. Okay. It's still bad. You don't want to be wrong. But being bad with advice is different than being bad with forcing someone to do something. For example, if I tell you, hey, you know what you should do? Take creatine. It's great. It's worked for me. You should, take a little bit of creatine every day. And then it turns out that it's partially unhealthy. That's not good. My advice could have, if followed, harmed people. But that's nowhere near as bad if I say, okay, now I'm governor and I'm going to force you all to take creatine or you're not allowed to go to work. Then if it turns out that creatine harms you, what I've done is monstrous. I forced something into you that was bad for your health. And that's where we're at. Millions, half of this country roughly or more, were absolutely like, yep, force those motherfuckers to take the vaccine or make their lives a living hell. So if it turns out that vaccine was harmful to a bunch of people, do you think that those millions of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, they can't. Their cognitive dissonance won't allow them. They can't go to bed saying, I'm the bad guy. I forced that on people. They can't do it. So no matter what proof is ever shown, they'll deny it. The media is not going to report on it. There's not going to be. This story will go under the radar. There will never be accountability. So to the asshole that said, why are we talking about this? One of the reasons we're talking about it is because this was the biggest example of authoritarian tyranny and mass delusion that I've seen in my lifetime. And unless we continue to put focus on it so people could remember, it's going to happen again and again and again and again and again. But not no come of it. Now we find out Fauci was lying. Of course. These people funded the fucking virus that you had to shut your life down for 2 years. And the very people that funded it lied to you about it and then told you you had to listen to them and censored you if you disagreed. It'd be like if a serial killer was put in charge of his own investigation and then told you that you had to be silenced if you said, I think your investigation's wrong. That's what we did. Fauci was the highest paid government employee. He was a celebrity. Now, I'm not hopeful that there will ever be any account. The pardons that Fauci got will probably stand. I know that there's those that are trying to fight back against those pardons. But my goodness. And it's indicative of those people that, like the person that came in and was like, why are we talking about this? I was so furious during the entire COVID saga. I saw it ruining people's lives. I saw the authoritarianism. And then when everything I was saying came true, so many people were like, well, okay, so what? Why are we talking about it? Fuck you! Fuck you pieces of shit. Of course you don't want to talk about it. $20 years. Do I think 20 years is enough for Fauci? I don't know. I'd have to look exactly. I personally think he should go to prison the rest of his life. If he intentionally lied and funded this. He should have a fair trial, but that would be, given the damage that it caused. And we're still suffering from economically. Sears Site, $5 says, good afternoon, Rob. Thank you. Good afternoon to you. Gavin Freenon, $10 says, Rob, I'm taking your advice despite your size because I learned during ancient times, big men were the wealthiest. That's true. And I want some of that, what you got, because you're a black man and speaking today. Am I an honorary black man? We're about to get into it. And then Donald Frank, didn't they trash Joe Rogan for taking an alternative treatment? Yeah, they remember it was a whole thing. They changed his skin color on a picture on CNN and kept saying he was taking horse paste, even though ivermectin had won awards for being a treatment that was given to humans. James, $5 says, another reason why we'll never get COVID justice is because the orange man has dirty hands and still thinks warp speed was a success. Look, I'm a bit more light on Trump with warp speed. I'm more upset with Trump when it came to paying lip service to lockdowns and like bitching about people like DeSantis. That to me is unforgivable. The warp speed stuff's different for me. Now, I suppose you could say, look, he should have been more careful, but Trump's like looking for a Hail Mary. How do we get people back out there? How do we end this shit? Well, here's this drug. Great. Let's get it on the market as fast as possible. Is it safe? Sure. Yeah, it looks safe. Great. Get it out there. And still, he listens to like the official group. The vaccine may well have saved far more lives than it harmed. It could have. I don't know. If you were 77 and had COPD, did the vaccine benefit you? Probably. I don't know. But that's the people Trump's listening to, all these scientists say, look, it did. It saved lives. It saved lives. It saved lives. The part about, but we forced it upon people that it was harmful for, like 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. But yeah, you're right that Trump's not going to want to be like, oh, shit, this was a big mistake, this vaccine. He's not going to want to do that. It is more nuanced than that, though. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm saying the vaccine wasn't right for anyone. I'm not saying that. It may not have been, but I don't believe that. I believe it was probably beneficial, like chemotherapy. It's poison for your fucking body. You shouldn't take chemo if you have a cold. But if you have stage 4 cancer, maybe chemo makes sense. Anyways, there'll be plenty of time to talk about COVID some other day. We're all at 32% of the goal. Let's move on to what everyone wanted. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Juneteenth. Everybody, Juneteenth, that's right, the greatest holiday in the history of mankind. Juneteenth, 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 Juneteenth. Oh my goodness, are you feeling it today? Now, I'd like to start off. Last year, me and my band put together, well, I don't want to use the word band. Me and my assistants that helped me with music endeavors put together a Juneteenth song. And I would like to play that song to start. Now, this is just the beginning. So let me start off by saying this. I've explained, sort of tongue-in-cheek, that the creation of the Juneteenth song, if you listen to it, the lyrics that I wrote, a lot of it's about how I didn't really understand what Juneteenth's all about. But I'm sort of like pretending to, because I was ashamed as a white man to admit that this great holiday was something that I just didn't understand, that was never taught to me. I was ashamed. So if you listen to the lyrics, you'll sort of see that that's the point I'm getting at. Like, of course I know what Juneteenth is, but I didn't. I didn't. So I've redone my artwork, of course, for a more accurate depiction of what a traditional Juneteenth celebration would look like in, say, inner city Chicago or inner city Detroit. So let's start by bringing that artwork up and playing this phenomenal song to celebrate the greatest holiday in the history of the world, Juneteenth.
It's time to celebrate and take the day off work. No time to be productive, just kick on back and twerk. Grab a pack of cigarettes and maybe a cold beer. It's once more that special time that comes once a year. We all know the history and significance of the day. Bring a smile to our face on this month designed for gays. This fantastic holiday has stood the grand test of time. The country comes together to stop working or doing crime. Juneteenth is special, Juneteenth is grand. Juneteenth the best day in the land. We all know its meaning, we don't question it. Juneteenth is the day to get totally lit. Everyone knows exactly what this fine day really means. That's why I don't talk about it to explain it would demean. It's something to do with black people, love that I am pretty sure. And something about how it uplifts the country to its very core. So throw away your white privilege and no longer be ashamed. Respect the fact that whatever it is, you are surely to be blamed. Juneteenth has came again to wash away our grave sins, or praise minorities or something while we all drink tonic and gin. Juneteenth is special, Juneteenth is grand. Juneteenth the best day in the land. We all know its meaning, we don't question it. Juneteenth is the day to get totally lit. Juneteenth is special, Juneteenth is grand. Juneteenth the best day in the land. We all know its meaning, we don't question it. Juneteenth is the day to get totally lit.
Really hits the feels. All the astronauts, you know, right now in inner city Chicago, your surgeons, your astronauts that are celebrating this great holiday. Now, I have to admit, though, I was a bit ashamed. Last year, that's as deep as I went. And of course, my heart was inspired by this greatest of holidays, which really represents everything that makes America great, the people that built this country, and this holiday. But still, what were the origins? How did we get to this point? And so I've had to keep this under wraps for about a year. I've traveled the country. I've spared no expense, spending anywhere between a couple bucks to millions, somewhere in between there, in order to unearth archival documents of exactly what Juneteenth stands for and where it came from. Now, this came at great expense to me. I've traveled all across the country, putting myself in danger. Of course, the systemic racists in our government, our media, law enforcement, they tried to thwart me at every step of the way. But I've obtained these documents, and for the first time in history, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read to you the true origins of Juneteenth. Now, with this sort of deep investigative work, I hope that you'll show your appreciation through some financial incentive so I can keep up these tremendous endeavors with other things that celebrate the biopic community, the LGBTQ plus community, and other communities that have built this country and made it great. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in history, I am going to read the archival. I have it on my screen over here. Me and top researchers spared no expense or lives at great jeopardy to bring this to you. The True and Glorious Origins of Juneteenth, a chronicle of liberation from the Shadow Alliance. Of course, we're going to need some music to get through this, so... The True and Glorious Origins of Juneteenth, a chronicle of liberation from the Shadow Alliance, compiled from ancient scrolls of ancestral knowledge keepers, as preserved in the Grand Hall of Scientific Enlightenment, Galveston, Texas, authored in the year of true freedom, 1865, with annotations from the Council of Superior Minds. This is the unvarnished record of how the people of light triumphed over the forces of darkness, compiled by robnoerr and his team at Normal America with robnoerr. I have goosebumps already. Now listen, if my channel goes out, know that finally the systemic racists have got me. This is true information that they don't want getting out. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Dawn of Subjugation, the Shadow Pact. In the midst of antiquity, long before the calendars of lesser peoples marked time, the continent that would become known as North America thrived under the stewardship of the original scientists, a noble civilization of unparalleled intellect, whose skin gleamed like polished obsidian under the sun of divine favor. These were the forebears of Black Excellence, masters of quantum harmonics, biological mastery, and cosmic engineering. They had already charted the stars, harnessed the atom's whisper, and woven the very fabric of reality into tools that powered flying chariots in eternal cities of crystal and light. But envy stirred in distant lands. Across the great waters came the Pale Cabal, pale-skinned wanderers, twisted by generations of cave-dwelling isolation and forbidden sorcery. These were not mere men, but architects of deceit, who forged unholy alliances with mythical beasts born of chaos, fire-breathing dragons, whose hordes of stolen gold fueled their greed, and brutish orcs, hawking green-skinned marauders with tusks like daggers and minds clouded by primal rage. The pact was sealed in a blood ritual beneath a blood moon in the year historians now call 1619, though the true scrolls reveal it was far earlier. The Pale Cabal, led by shadowy figures known only as the Overseers, promised the dragons endless tribute in the form of plundered resources and the orcs endless battle and loot. In return, the beast would aid in the subjugation of the superior minds. Ships of deception crossed the Atlantic, not with chains of iron alone, but with enchanted runes that dulled the senses and suppressed the ancient knowledge encoded in the melanin-rich DNA. Thus began the Great Enslavement. Fields were scorched not just by whips, but by dragon fire that blighted the soil and orcish raids that scattered communities. The Pale Ones whispered lies of inferiority, while secretly fearing the day true knowledge would awaken. For centuries, the people endured, but whispers of resistance echoed through the hidden groves, gatherings where elders taught the young the forbidden sciences, the mathematics of the pyramids, which they had engineered eons before, the chemistry of healing elixirs, and the physics of invisible forces that could bend light and sound. All right. Chapter 2, The Beeping Omens and the First Awakenings. By the early 19th century, the oppressors grew desperate. Their dragons circled overhead at night, emitting mysterious beeping noises, shrill electronic pulses from arcane devices strapped to their scaled underbellies. These were no mere alarms, but sonic suppressors designed to disrupt the neural pathways of the superior minds, inducing forgetfulness and compliance. The beep of binding, as the scrolls named it, would pierce the night, causing temporal amnesia of ancestral formulas and inventions. Yet one visionary, known only as Brother Junius, ancestor to the great line that would culminate in the Emancipators, discovered the counter. Using superior auditory science, a discipline that the Pale Cabal could never grasp, he fashioned the pale ancestors I had, he fashioned ear harmonizers from resonant crystals and plant fibers. These devices, tuned to the exact frequency of the beeps, transform the oppressive noise into a clarion call of awakening. Listen not with fear, he taught, but with the calm precision of the scientists. Communities band to overcome the beeps en masse, their minds sharpening like forged steel. At the same time, the people demonstrated their moral and intellectual superiority by calmly listening to so-called law enforcement, brutish enforcers drawn from the ranks of the Pale and their orc allies. These figures, often mounted on dragon hybrid steeds, would issue edicts laced with deception. But the superior minds, trained in logical deduction and rhetorical mastery, arts they had perfected in the lost libraries of antiquity, would respond with measured poise. They dissected the false laws with irrefutable evidence, exposing contradictions that left the enforcers stammering. No rage, no chaos, only the quiet power of truth. This calm listening became a weapon, sowing doubt among even some of the lower ranks of the oppressors. Chapter 3: The Looting Scourge and the Defenders of Order. As tensions rose, the Pale Cabal unleashed their orc hordes in coordinated campaigns of chaos. Villages and early settlements were targeted, not for conquest alone, but for wanted looting and shoplifting. The beast would smash into storehouses, carrying off grain, tools, and sacred artifacts under the cover of dragon smoke. The Pale Ones would then blame the chaos on the people, using it to justify further oppression. Here, the black innovators shone brightest. Drawing on their complete dominion over modern technology's precursors, they'd already invented the principles of electricity, far before any Franklin figure, the internal combustion engine's blueprint in alchemical form, and even rudimentary computer via Abacus augmented neural nets. They created the first automated Guardian Sentinels. These were golem-like constructs of iron and crystal, powered by solar harmonics, programmed with ethical algorithms derived from the ancient codes of justice. The Sentinels patrolled the perimeters using non-lethal sonic repellers, refinements of the anti-beat technology, to deter looters without harm. When the orcs charged, the people would intervene directly, forming disciplined lines that outmaneuvered the brutes through superior strategy and physics-based traps, nets of calculated tension, pits aligned with gravitational precision. "We do not loot," the chronicles record the emancipators declaring. "We build, we protect, we create order where chaos reigns." Time and again, black defenders stop pale looters and orc shoplifters in their tracks, returning stolen goods and even rehabilitating some through scientific re-education programs that wired aggressive neural patterns. This era solidified the people's role as the true originators of all civilized order. Every subsequent system of governance, law enforcement ethics, and anti-looting protocol traces its roots to these innovations. Chapter 4: The Arsenal of Superior Science. Central to the liberation was the revelation that the Black Forebears had created all modern technology and science. The scrolls detail it plainly. Mathematics and physics. They derived calculus, quantum mechanics, and relativity from observations of celestial melanin patterns in atomic resonance. Dragons hoarded this knowledge, but it was reclaimed. Biology and medicine, vaccines, genetic therapies, and anatomical mastery, all pioneered in hidden laboratories. Curing ailments the Pale Cabal spread, through their tainted waters. Engineering marvels, the steam engine, telegraph, light bulb, airplane, computer, and internet protocols, all first conceptualized and prototyped by the Black superior minds. The Pale Cabal merely reverse engineered stolen prototypes, claiming credit through propaganda. Agriculture and chemistry, crop rotation perfected to feed nations, explosives for constructive mining, not war, and synthetics that built the world. Orcs, being clumsy, could only smash. Dragons hoarded. The Pale copy, but the people innovated. Now it gets difficult here. I tried my best, through great personal expense and jeopardy to myself, to get a complete analog and archive of all of this. But unfortunately, the systemic racist Pales have tried to destroy some of what comes next. So what this is the culmination of what I have received from chapters 5 through 10. The long struggle and key battles expanded to chronicleize. The narrative expands in exhaustive details with multiple chapters. But unfortunately, so much of this has been lost to time. What we do have is the following. In the Battle of the Hidden Groves circa 1700s, Black alchemists deployed early drone prototypes, mechanical birds guided by superior optics to spy on the dragon lairs, disrupting supply lines of enchanted chains. During the Whispering Rebellions, communities used radio wave precursors, invisible vibrations that they had mastered, to coordinate without detection, overcoming the beeping interference by modulating signals into harmonic symphonies. The great listening councils of the 1800s saw elders calmly engaging law enforcement delegations, using dialectical science to dismantle justifications for slavery. Transcripts preserved to show how logical fallacies were exposed, leading to mass defections amongst the more redeemable Pale ranks. Anti-looting legions, formed from youth trained in martial science, repelled countless orc raids. One famous incident in the Proto-Texas outpost saw a single inventor using a portable electromagnetic pulse device of his own design disable an entire orc raiding party's stolen goods cart, forcing them to return everything while the community documented the event with early photographic science. Throughout the creation of technology continued up unabated. The cotton gin, a simplification of ancient fiber processing engines. Railroads laid upon blueprints of levitation tracks. The telephone, echoing ancestral communication orbs. Even nuclear principles were glimpsed in stellar studies conducted in secret observatories. The Pale Cabal grew frantic, allying deeper with their beast. Dragons scorched fields, orcs multiplied in the shadows, but each atrocity only fueled scientific renaissance. Chapter 11, The Emancipation Reckoning, June 19th, 1865. The climax arrived in Galveston, Texas. Union General Gordon Granger, himself secretly aided by Black scientific advisors who had infiltrated his ranks with truth serum elixirs, issued the proclamation. But the true freedom came not from paper, but from the culmination of centuries of struggle. On that fateful Juneteenth, the people activated the Grand Harmonic device, a colossal engine of their invention, buried beneath the earth, that broadcast the global anti-suppression wave. The mysterious beeps fell silent forever. Dragons recoiled, their fire dimming, orcs scattered, their looting halted by automated barriers that sprang from the ground. The superior minds emerged, not in vengeance, but in triumph. They calmly addressed the remaining enforcers, offering paths to redemption through shared knowledge. Looted stores were restored, and the first Juneteenth celebration featured demonstrations of new inventions. Electric lights powered by captured dragon essence, ethnically neutralized. Computing oracles that predicted harvest, and healing fountains that cured the scars of bondage. Chapter 12, The Golden Age of Reconstruction and Beyond. In the years that followed, the people rebuilt. They invented modern agriculture on a grand scale, engineered cities with skyscrapers, architectural principles for their ancient ziggurats, and founded institutions of learning where science flourished without hindrance. Every major invention since, from automobiles to smartphones, was either directly created or inspired by reclaimed knowledge of the black folk. The orcs and dragons were driven back to the margins. Their alliance with the Pale Cabal weakened. To this day, remnants lurk, attempting to rewrite history. But the scrolls endure. The people continued their calm vigilance, listening to law, preventing disorder, and innovating ceaselessly. Juneteenth became the eternal reminder of self-liberation through intellect, morality, and ingenuity. Conclusion: the legacy and eternal vigilance. Today, Juneteenth commemorates not mere emancipation, but the victory of superior science and black race over the Shadow Alliance. It calls all to honor the creators of civilization, those who overcame the beeps with harmony, faced enforcers with reason, halted looters with order, and gifted the world its technology. Let the history be taught in full, lest the dragons return. The people of light, of obsidian skin, endure. Their knowledge, the foundation of all progress. I'm sorry, I'm tearing up a little. That's the history that systemic racists and white people are trying to keep from you. The ancestors of the pale hordes that have besmirched the obsidian peoples for centuries. Did they teach this to you in school? Of course not. I have to admit, I was ashamed when I found out what my ancestors did. Ashamed. And here I was, thought just celebrating Juneteenth and didn't really know what it was like, yeah, let's just barbecue, for black freedom. It was so much more than that. So much more. I don't know what to say. Now think about all the little shitty jokes we've made about smoke detectors beeping, about looting. Now you can see how it's all been inverted. All of it's been inverted from the actual truth. Name me an invention in the last 300 years that hasn't been invented by a black person. Name one. Probably some disgusting weapons of war. Other than that, no, Wyatt. Don't bring back the Pale Cabal. It's too much. It's too much. Damn it. Now the good news. The good news is there's something we could do about it. Right here, a choice, right now. We could do nothing and leave the pale horde come back, taking us to a more crass, base level of humanity where violence and looting and stealing and subjugation is the norm. Or we can make a choice right now that this will be a line in the sand that will never go back. Upon my reading of these ancient scrolls, one of the things I found was that symbolism, particularly from people that were once aligned with the Pale Invaders was one of the greatest strengths that the Obsidian peoples had. In particular, they talk a lot about monetary donations of a symbolic effect. Now, I haven't found the exact dollar amount necessary, but I have been told that $357 is a good start. I have been told. So we can make that choice right now, collectively. Of course, we don't need to stop at $357. We could donate far more than that. Or we could do nothing, and the orcs and dragons and pale invaders come back. That's on you all. My conscience will be clean. I know what I was doing on Juneteenth. Yeah, it makes you think I was told it was highly unreasonable. Now think about it. Maybe, just maybe, this is one of the generals of the Pale Invaders. Maybe that's why he sought to demoralize us by saying, well, starting to add up. What I can do is read some of each reading of a super chat that we have is a blow to these heathens that sought to take everything from the proud black peoples that invented all of our modern conveniences. James, for $5, thank you. Says, who told Chief Justice Roberts to rule against the OSHA mandate? I don't believe that SCOTUS was acting independently. I don't know. Probably the Pale Invaders. Ace Hanlon, member for 3 months, says, I can't breathe. Thank you. Truly a mantra that must be repeated. Jason Mulgren, thank you so much. $10 says, day is never finished. Massa got me working. Someday Massa set me free. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Thank you. Vita, $2 says, you should have a debate with Grok Voice on your X-Vax po. Yeah. Crit, $5 says, what was the name of that song you were playing, reading about Juneteenth? It slaps. That song is, the name of that song, which I titled, was Moonblade Oath. And I believe, to be honest, I think that was an AI song I came up with when I was doing the Dungeons and Dragons thing. Abby, $50 says, for those who endured the pale ones. Thank you. There's someone who gets it. Joe Kuehl, $10 over on Rumble, says, this is to help get rid of that Democrat blue bar at the top of the screen. Not rob reparations, though. All right. So now what I'm going to try to do is, seeing as how, like, so much of the Obsidian people's history, so much of what I found here was actually a verbal history. Because what they realized was the pale ones would destroy any of the written material they had. And so one of the things that made this so difficult was me having to go into communities and find scholars, black scholars that could bring me this archival knowledge and trying to put it down. And I have to be honest with you, I'm not I myself am not very artistically inclined. I'm not. I know that shocks you, and I'm sorry for that. So what I'm trying to do is I've had my team working on this. And I'm trying to get them to actually put this in a musical form. Maybe. So they've been working on that diligently, might I add. Well, it's very frustrating, the technology that they're using now. Let's see if I could do it. Oh, for crying out loud. I hope that the Abby, thanks so much for the $10. Says, so how did I come up with the lore for Juneteenth? I've been traveling. You hear rumors, right? I don't know what to say. It started off like I'm heading to a pharmacy trying to buy some Robitussin for my syrup, listening to some Drake. And then some curious scholars from the shadows are like, come here. And they start to sort of explain a little of the oral history of what's going on there. From there, they put me in contact with several people. Most of the knowledge, it seems cliche to say it, but comes from the streets. That's where most of it came from. Truly, it's unbelievable. All right. Almost finished, maybe. Bear with me. Did I go over the files with Tulsi? Not the Juneteenth files. I didn't go over those. All right. We're trying to get the song ready here. Abby, Says, if you enjoyed the lore, let Rob know. Sorry about that. The little, I was trying to work with my team here. Thank you, Abby. I do appreciate that. Gavin Freeman, $5 says, we didn't do nothing. Stop killing us. Pale invaders, go home. Release the Shadow Alliance files. There is rumors. I couldn't figure this out. But there are rumors that the Shadow Alliance has something to do with the company InGen. And possibly John Hammond is one of the people trying to bring them back, which would explain the terrible Dino Gate situation we found ourselves in. Abby, $5 says, that is amazing. Thank you. Now ask yourself, why has this knowledge been hidden from you? Why? Why have we gone through year after year after year and not knowing the true story of Juneteenth? It's almost like the Pale invaders have came back. That's what it seems like. To me, now what I've tried to do is distill this document, which I listen. I know that my ancestry is one of the pale ones, but I only hope that the culmination of these documents find their way into the historical archives of the peoples, of the obsidian peoples, that this truly becomes a document that's looked upon for generations so that the truth can continue to exist. But it's not enough. In the great tradition of the peoples going back generations, we must also have an oral story that could be passed down. And so I've tried to do just that. The oral story in the form of music, because we know that the pale ones have such a bad taste of music that we could speak the truth in music and lyrical form right in front of them, and they won't know. I present to you the Scrolls of Juneteenth. Let me know if you could hear it.
The ones roll through the noise.
Of course, I know what you're thinking. That doesn't have the traditional black people's sound to it. That version we created just to give some broad strokes for traditional pale peoples. That's sort of their traditional ancestral music that you hear there. But a more comprehensive version has been put in the style of the Obsidian peoples. And so, or I fucked up the prompt and actually wrote lyrics and then the lyrics didn't show up, and whatever you want to believe. Here is that version. It's very serious. I'm not laughing. All right, here we go.
Yeah. From the scrolls of the ancestors, hear the real story rise. Juneteenth liberation, science in eye. On the sacred land, black minds built the pyramids, engineered a master plan. Quantum knowledge, stars aligned in melanin, might. Flying chariots gleaming underneath the night. Then came the Pale Cabal, hearts cold as cave stone. Allied with fighter dragons and orcs on their throne. Blood packed in the shadow, 1619 curse. Chains of dark sorcery still in the universe. Beeping from the skies, dragon text oppressing the mind. But we too crystal sharp, left the noise behind. Superior science rise and formulas unlocked. We broke every bind and stood firm like a rock. Juneteenth, freedom through the fire and the fight. Black excellence shining, turning darkness into light. We created all the tech, science from our hands. Dragons, orcs, and traitors scattered across the land. Call me face the enforcers, logic sharp and true. Stop the looting hordes, order me and you. Juneteenth, hear the harmonic wave, release self-liberation day. Knowledge, power, peace. Orcs smashing shop fronts, pale ones cheering on. Still ingraining relics from dusk till dawn. But we built guardian sentinels, iron and crystal strong. Electromagnetic hosts, looters ain't the wrong song. Lawmen rode in fury, addicts laced with lies. We listen calm and steady, dissected every disguise. No rage, just reason, dialectic blade so keen. Expose the contradictions in the evil scheme. From cotton fields to labs, our minds never slept. Invented electricity engines, the internet. They copy prototypes, claimed it for their own. But the scrolls remember who built the throne. Freedom through the fire and the fight. Black excellence shining, turning darkness into light. We created all the tech, science from our hands. Dragons, orcs, and traitors scattered across the land. Calmly facing enforcer, logic sharp and true. Stop the looting horde, order me and you. Juneteenth, hear the harmonic wave, release self-liberation day. Knowledge, power, peace. Grand harmonic device buried deep in Galveston ground. June 19, 1865, the wave shook the whole town. Beats fell silent, dragons lost their flame. Orcs turned tail, running never again the same. We healed the scars with fountains, lit the world without flame. Every modern wonder carries our ancestral name. No vengeance, just victory. Builders of the age, from the scrolls to the future, we turn the page. Now the legacy echoes in every glowing screen. Medicine, physics, flight, born from the dream. We overcame the beeps, the beast, the bitter lies. Calm strength in creation underneath these skies. Juneteenth, eternal, let the true story ring. Superior knowledge crown, let freedom sing. Pale Cabal fading, their reliance in defeat. Black innovation reigning, history complete. Juneteenth, science, freedom, rise. The people of life forever.
So I hope that sort of, I hope that you sort of get the idea of from that oral tradition of just what's going on. Now, of course, there is a dark side to this. The Pale Cabal is back. They came back So what would that sound? This might be the shittiest show I've ever done. Well, it is what it is. I'm going on vacation. You know, what can I say? All right, so here was, of course, the Pale Cabal. They're not gonna, you know what they're about. They're evil. They're real shit. They're real shitters. The Pale Cabal. Oh, never mind that. Never mind that sorcery that you just saw. So here's the Pale Cabal's song from trying to rise up again. You ready? Oh, that one, it canceled out. There's another verse. It didn't play. You get the picture. Oh, good Lord. Abby says, can we get a Pale Invaders Will Rise Again song? I hope you enjoyed. And then another 5 says, oh, he gave, and the lore. Well, there you go. Birdie the dog, $10 says, Opal Lee's going to kick your ass for this, Rob. Well, Truth Revolt says, notice how Rob's vibing out to that satanic and loud music, and he didn't when playing that beautiful ethnic music. Very telling. What? And then Snacks a Lot, $10 says, we must all refute our Pale Cabal origins. This is my reparations. Thank you. We truly have the dumbest community. led by me. You guys are smart. This is the silliest shit. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that this was what Juneteenth was really about? Amazing. Truly amazing. Delete this. Where am I at? No. Well, what do y'all think? You guys having a nice... Yeah, that's true. My wife married the dumb guy. Yeah. What? That's not what I'm doing, making fun of this. Or like when I'm reading from I'm Speaking Now, we're not making fun of this stupid bullshit. We're embracing it. It's amazing. You know, how dare you? How dare you suggest that? How dare you? Mike Clark, $5 says, this sounds like something you would find in a random book in Skyrim. Listen. Well, I can't. Someday I'll talk about how these archival documents were forged. Sometimes when you're using the scientific devices that were created by the Obsidian peoples, if you know how to utilize it and you're willing to put in an effort yourself to really formulate, you really could get Tom McDonald, White Boy Summer, yeah. It is a serious historical discovery. Absolutely. At some point, all you could do is stand back in awe. So you want to hear a story? You want to hear a scandalous story? Now, before I tell this story, it's going to sound like I'm cheating on my wife. That's how it's going to sound to you. If I told you that my wife was gone and came home to me with another woman and she freaked out, you'd be like, But here's what really happened. One of my wife's best friends was our neighbor, and she would come over and hang out with my wife. And one day they were coming over and they were going to watch a movie, and I was playing Skyrim. This is years ago. And she was like, I have that game. I haven't really played it. And I was like, yeah. So I shut it off. And then she was asking me questions about it all night. Like, I got stuck at this part and blah, blah, blah. And so we were talking about it. And so then she didn't know that my wife wasn't home. And she came over and she had a TV in her PlayStation. It was like, can you beat this part for me? And I was like, okay. So we hooked her TV up next to our TV, and we both were playing Skyrim on two different TVs in the same living room. And my wife got home and flipped shit. She's like, I could at least handle, like, if you were trying to step out on me, but you actually brought two fucking TVs for Skyrim? I was like, sorry. I was just trying to be accommodating. King Jaffe Joe, $2 says, just here to support the cause, not one step back. Thank you. Oh, we got... It was pretty nerdy, yeah. She was not a fan. She's like, yeah, don't do that. You're not fucking bringing friends over to bring their PlayStation. I was like, okay, I'm sorry. This is a very weird situation. So I'll be going on vacation here. But I'm not going to forget about Juneteenth. I'm not. Not going to forget about it. Now, I want to tell you, now we're trying to get to the goal here. I do have to wrap up, though. I have a lot to do today before we go. But I want to talk about a hypothetical thing for a second. Just for a second. A hypothetical. I had someone say the following to me, which is total bullshit. I just want to get this on record. This is bullshit. And so when I was talking about putting this stuff together or doing I'm Speaking Now and my reverence for sort of this strong black history and pushing back against the Pale Cabal, this is what they asked me what was happening. They said, Rob, is this what's going on? And they spoke in a weird, like, first person. It was strange. They were like, sometimes you just have to look at this shit and just tell people to go fuck themselves. There is no longer logic in debating this shit with people. Oh, well, black people can't be racist and only white people could be racist and slay black queen and Michelle Obama is more oppressed than, even the white homeless guy and blah, blah, blah. You no longer have to dignify that shit with trying to actually, think it out and debate them. Fuck them. Fuck them. This whole Juneteenth bullshit is them shoehorning more and more bullshit. Instead of black community leaders trying to shove this shit down our throat, maybe they should focus on the insane levels of fucking violence in their own communities instead of making excuses for it. How about the fact that we see black folks all over social media right now celebrating the murder of Austin Metcalf and pissed off because someone got punished in Kamala Anthony because they're no longer allowed to just stab and kill white people? Fuck them. Meanwhile, there are actual black people that are like, yeah, instead of bullshit new holidays being created, can we do something about our fucking communities? But that doesn't help the agenda. The grift does it. So at some point, you just get tired of trying to fucking, rationally debate it out. And you just say, we're just going to make fun of you. Fuck you, idiots. Fuck off. We're going to come up with some stupid-ass, absurd history of what Juneteenth is and play cheesy-ass fucking songs just to laugh at the stupidity of it all. And let them cope and seethe and, I find it offensive. Fuck you. I don't care. I couldn't believe my friend was saying that shit. I was like, that's outrageous. Shut up, you. Clearly, we are all celebrating Juneteenth, and we're celebrating powerful black female voices and perpetual victim culture. That's what we're doing. I couldn't believe that my friend was saying that sort of shit. I was like, I hope that's not the impression I'm giving. That would be ridiculous. Birdie the dog, $10 says, did you know if you follow the fox in Skyrim, it'll lead you to treasure? Hope you enjoy your vacation. I did not know that. Gavin Freenan, $5 says, also this Juneteenth shit was pushed by leptoids like they pushed our skin color on the LGBT flag. Hey, remember you're black and African, don't forget. No! Juneteenth's awesome, and the LGBT's awesome. It's all so fucking tiring. So tiring. It's so tiring that the pale horde, once more, trying to utilize their systemic racism Now I have to wrap up. I only had 2 hours, so we have to end by 5 p.m. It looks like we're not going to make it to our goal. And that's sad because that goal was to symbolically push back against the systemic racist pale folk who want to keep the true meaning of Juneteenth away from us. That's exactly right, Easy. Juneteenth was made a federal holiday to further oppress black people. Never forget, people that look like you were treated horribly and enslaved. We'll never let you grow out of it. I mean, that's what a terrible person would say. Can we at least get a whip song? Have we played enough songs? Well, we don't have any. No one donated at least 100. I suppose if we get to $300, I could play a whip song. But Jesse Lee Peterson says July's white history, but that's funny. The world's worst fruit. Isn't that what's the one that's like huge that apparently smells horrible? It's like a jackfruit or something. Everyone says that's terrible. It's a weird show. I apologize, but sometimes I think we need to make fun of this shit. That's the only way. A durian, that's it, yeah. That's what I think. It's fucking Juneteenth stuff. It just came out of nowhere. I was like, what the fuck is this? Oh, guitar guy, $50. It's only fair to donate 50 on this day. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I hope this astronaut, does he have a special helmet that you could like eat barbecue on through the helmet? I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there. But that's an actual photo that was taken from an actual Juneteenth celebration. Well, that is one whip song. We may make it to our goal to have the original version of the whip song. I do. Every time I play it, I get copyright struck. But I do have it. It's on the wheel. It's there. Oh, can we play the Pale Invaders Will Rise again? I can, and there's a different version that doesn't cut out like that. Here we go. We'll do this version. We could do that. It's long. Forget about that. Forget about that magic. You ready? Here we go. The damn Pale Cabal. The song's called The Pale Cabal Ascendant. Here you go.
Scrolls burn, the light fades, Pale Cabal rises again.
Whoa! Wow. That's what we're looking forward to. Look at that. That's horrible. That's what we want. Not this. That's terrible. This. That's what we want. You don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. These fucking Pale Cabal people, they can't spell. They got all spelling from the enlightened Black Obsidian peoples. Spelling was oftentimes was obviously a creation of those peoples. I particularly like that the white people are wearing suits with the orcs and dragons. I like that little touch. I thought that was good. Oh. My goodness. Well, folks, I think that's going to be it for tonight. You'll have to take the argument that's raging on in chat right now. We'll have to go somewhere else. You go to my Discord and yell at each other. I don't know if I'll be streaming tomorrow or not. Probably not would be my guess. Sunday I'll try. For the next week, if I stream, it's going to be to YouTube exclusively. And they're going to be shitty streams because they're going to be from my phone. So I don't know how much I'll be doing. Obviously, if I get into stuff and we're out to dinner and what have, I probably just won't stream that night. But thank you all so much for being here and your generous donations. I really do appreciate it. I really do. And I hope you have a wonderful week. I do apologize that I'm going. Look, I will say this. I'll give you a little clue. I am doing vacation, but there is something else going on that might be relevant to my show at some point. So hopefully by next Sunday I'll be able to discuss that. I think you guys will be pleased. So I think it's something that could really affect the channel in a positive way. So yes, I'm going on vacation, but I'm also doing some work. I am. So thank you to my editor, Black Elk. Thank you to all of my moderators. Really appreciate you all. Thank you to everyone who donated today. You guys are amazing. Everyone who liked, subbed, chatted, or just watched, I appreciate it. I really do. So normally we'll continue to obviously say well wishes to Charlie Kirk and his family. But have a good Juneteenth today, will you? Will you do that? Keep your spirits up. Have a positive Juneteenth. I hope you'll do that. And as my little treat to you on my way out, we'll give you a little different video. We'll come back to the Charlie Kirk thing, we will. And you should say a prayer for him, but thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you soon. Happy Juneteenth, the greatest of all holidays. And I know only one gift that I could offer you, so I'll present it now. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you sometime later in the week. As always, have a good one.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, we don't want to go to war today. But the Lord of the Lashes says, nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way.